All right. Good evening and good night, and welcome to the HO Perspective Talk Show podcast. My name is David, aka Kimba, aka Christian Bingy Soup, still on special assignment. This is the podcast coming to you from the beautiful island of St. Croix, Virgin Islands. We're streaming our podcast tonight on Facebook. I am David Christian, and on our YouTube channel, it's your Perspective Talk Show podcast. Just tap in tonight. The phone line is kaput. No ability to get any calls tonight. But as we roll out here, we do have a special guest in the studio tonight. Let me bring up here real quick. His name is Kevin Jackson. There he is, right there. Welcome to the podcast, Kevin.
Oh man, thank you. I love the live applause too.
Look, all our guests tonight.
At least it's not a laugh track, right?
I know, right? Right. So Kevin is a gentleman that I had an opportunity to meet in a place that I worked at. And, he was cool, and we just kind of, I guess developed sort of a basic friendship. He was in radio. I do a podcast. He graduated from Central in '81. I graduated in '82. And so we just started talking.
And I still don't remember you from school, which is bad.
I don't remember you either, but hey, I was there, man. And just as men had just a few things in common. It was always peaceful, always respectful conversation. So, but as time went on, I learned that he knows a lot about a lot of things that pertain to the Virgin Islands. And so for me, that was always, this guy's I got to put this guy on my list of people to invite on the show. So here he is. I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight, man. I appreciate you. So Kevin is a communications, hospitality, and tourism professional, and we're going to be talking about the rise, fall, and resilience of St. Croix hotels. And that's a mouthful. But let's get into a little bit about kind of like who you are and the communications and the hospitality and the tourism.
Yeah. Well, once again, thanks for having me on. And I'll be brief because I think we might have a lot to cover this evening. But I've done, what haven't I done? For those of us who know me from broadcasting, I've been doing radio. I've done television for years. Many people might be familiar with me from my days at WSVI TV Channel 8. I was an anchor on Channel 8 for about 7-8 years, I think. Okay. Yeah, I don't recall. Yeah. Did a small stint with WTJX. We had a show called Newsline 340. I've held communication posts with the Virgin Islands Police Department, Office of the Governor, Office of the Lieutenant Governor. That was Lieutenant Governor Luz James at that point in time. In regard to hospitality, I've worked in the industry for close to 35 years. Started off on St. Croix, went out to the mainland after school, had a job with the Department of the Division of Tourism out of their Miami office. Worked in corporate hotels, Sheraton, Holiday Inns. I worked in the largest hotel I had was about 1,200 rooms. That was in the city of White Plains, Westchester County. Basically a corporate hotel for AT&T, which was fun. AT&T and Philip Morris. I've worked here, of course, in St. Croix. I opened Tamarind Reef in 1993, opened Divvy in 2000. That's the hotel, of course. Served on the board of the St. Croix Hotel and Tourism. I was also the executive director for the Virgin Islands Transfer Centennial. I know I'm missing some things in between there, but I've been a little bit around the block. Corporate travel. I forgot about that. Yeah, I did some corporate travel with a company out of Texas, and that was quite interesting. And I even worked corporate. I did a gig with Philip Morris and General Foods, and that was quite an interesting chapter in this life.
So did you set out to get into this particular niche from high school, or was this your of interest, or you just kind of dropped in your lap and you just kind of rolled with it?
Well, funny thing, in regard to communication, we grew up in a time period when you only had three major networks, and one of the biggest television personalities or news personalities growing up in the New York area was Reasoner. And I just loved the delivery. I liked how they always spoke so calmly and gave out the news. And I also loved the old 1950s black and white films, people singing and dancing. They're all in the hotel and everyone's happy. You got the bellhop in the uniform and the elevator man. And I always liked that stuff. So, when we finally moved back home, tourism was really kicking into gear.
Mm.
And when we first came home, we stayed at Frenchman's Reef when it first opened. And I think that kind of implanted that in my mind as time went on. But yeah, in all actuality, the hotel thing kind of fell into my lap. Looking for a job after school, and a friend of mine said, "Well, come with me. We got openings at Hotel in the Key," and started off as a bellhop. 2 weeks later, I was at the front desk, and like a month or so after that, I was doing their night audit. So yeah, it
just kind of grew.
Exactly.
Okay. And I know we'll get into this at some point during this conversation, but as far as the tourism goes, I mean, we all know that tourism is the number one industry for the Virgin Islands. We rely on people to come in, whether it's airplane or boat, and spend money here, buying food, hotels, whatever they do. How is the tourist industry in your mind?
The industry has, well, from when I've started in the business till now, the industry has grown tremendously. And then we've had some stumbles along the way, and I'm hoping we'll get to talk about that. But I have a tremendous amount of hope for this next generation of entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs who are, they're opening restaurants, they're doing tour operators, they're doing diving. Which is something we never did personally in the territory. I'm looking forward to them carrying forward in the industry, but continuing our story on our terms, and let them, and hopefully let them continue their growth and instill that sense of empowerment to others. But it's important for them to tell our story our way rather than letting others tell that.
Okay.
It's going to, the only constant in this life is change, and my hope is that it just continues changing for the better. And I guess later on in the conversation we'll be able to touch on social media, because social media plays a very big part in that.
Okay.
We didn't have it back in the day.
No. We've come a long way
back in the day.
Yeah. So let's get into the hotels. The rise and fall and resilience of St. Croix's hotels. I know when we talked last week, you were saying a lot of things about a lot of hotels and this and that, but let's kind of get into that a little bit. When you talk about the rise and fall, like what hotels specifically, that you start with?
Oh, okay.
Because you talk about Divi and Tamarind Reef, these are some of the newer hotels, but
actually they're older.
They're older? Okay.
Actually they're older, and we got to start off, I think, in the 1960s when tourism really began to open. I can still remember as a kid growing up in the city, getting the airmail envelopes from St. Croix, and they were all addressed as Frederiksted, St. Croix, Virgin Islands, USA. So right now we're using the term United States Virgin Islands, which is nothing more than marketing from the early days of tourism. It's either the American Virgins or America's Paradise. And I guess the marketing folk came up with USVI to, of course, pull us away for the BVI, the British Virgin Islands, and everyone uses USVI. I'm a US Virgin Islander. I heard someone say that in an interview in the mainland once, and I kind of cringed because you are a Virgin Islander of the United States of America. You're not a U.S. Virgin Islander. It drove me insane, but that's just me. I just like our proper name, which is the Virgin Islands of the United States of America. That's me. That's me. But nonetheless, in the 60s, the industry really started to open. And we had a tremendous amount of properties that popped up on island. You had the Carlton Hotel in Frederiksted. You had St. Croix by the Sea. Don's Anchor in downtown Christiansted, King Christian Hotel. I know it's not the proper name, but they're in the 70s. They even built another property on Company Street. We refer to it as Aquiniquero. For those of us who've been around a while, we know Aquiniquero. Anyway, it was a no-tell motel. But, I need to give props to one property. It's a family-owned property who will soon be celebrating their 80th year of operation. And that's the Buccaneer Hotel.
Yes. Okay.
They've been open since 1947.
Okay.
Started off with 11 rooms. I believe they're now in their fourth generation of cruising ownership. And that is the flagship property on St. Croix in regards to layout, training, standards. I mean, she is a standard, and I know others in the past have wanted to attain that level, but they just haven't been able to. So whatever they're doing at the Buck is great. But yeah, we had all those properties in the 60s that were beginning to thrive. A lot of local Virgin Islanders at that point, with government becoming more prevalent or more of a presence in their lives, didn't take the hospitality jobs. They had a government job. So a lot of the hospitality jobs were left to folks from the Eastern Caribbean. Many of them at that point weren't naturalized. I forget the terminology back then. I'm trying to remember the terminology, their legal standing. But nonetheless, most of the people from the Eastern Caribbean working the properties. But the industry was growing. And St. Croix was becoming popular, She wasn't as rural as St. John was, which I wouldn't mind reverting back to those days. And she wasn't as busy as St. Thomas was, because St. Thomas was still the cruise port, that center of activity, the larger hotel properties. And I could tell you about St. Thomas, but we'll leave St. Thomas for another conversation. But yeah, St. Croix was really beginning to build up. And of course, as we know, by 1972, things came to a screeching halt after the Brauhaus shooting, Fountain Valley. News coverage on the island was absolutely horrific. Numbers dropped for visitors. People started leaving the island. For years, that stain hung over the island. And as someone who's done communications, crisis management is one thing that you handle, but to rebuild a reputation that's been steeped into people's minds for so long, and even though it may have happened in 1972, I had people questioning about the incident into the 1980s. And that really, a lot of that came out the Northeast Corridor. New York Times, most of our bread and butter travel came from that Northeast Corridor at that time frame, up until I'll say maybe the 2000s. And it was you are really embedded in people's minds. And we came home for a month, I remember, in 1973, and it was like a ghost town. It really was. Walking down King Street in Christiansted, there was virtually no visitors on the street. Same thing in Frederiksted. That vibrancy that we had started building up in the 60s just really went face down. And, of course, there was the resurgence that started in the 1980s. By the 1980s, one of the main people that really helped get St. Croix back on the map was Betty Sperber. Betty when I first heard of Betty, she was the manager of the what was then the Jockey Club, and she had moved over to the King Christian. And I got my first gig at Hotel on the Key right at that transition point from the Jockey Club to Hotel on the Key.
Now, where was this? Where was this at?
Oh, what, Hotel on the Key?
No, not hotel, but you talk about the Jockey Club.
Yeah, that was what Hotel on the Key was called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a Jockey Club. So they transitioned the name. The new owners came in, the Plunkett family. They changed the name, and they held on to that property for.
I never heard that before. As far as I could think back, it was always Hotel on the Key.
Yeah, no, man, that was a Jockey Club.
Okay,
yeah, that was a Jockey Club. Yeah, that was a Jockey Club, and the King Christian was always a King Christian.
Yes.
But strangely enough, I know there's with the new owners, they've done some changes and whatnot. But you grew up in a time period when, on the King's Wharf, there was Chart House.
Yes, I remember Chart House.
What was it before it was Chart House?
I don't recall.
No.
What was it?
It was a nightclub called Lyman Inn, and the tree that was in the middle of the floor in the restaurant, that was in the middle of the dance floor with the original nightclub.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I'm really dating myself.
I mean, but you and I are roughly the same age, but I don't, some of these places I've heard of. But some of these other names I just haven't heard of before.
Oh wow, yeah, man.
Yeah, I haven't heard of before.
Yeah, I got them, man. I got them. But no, back to Betty. Betty was instrumental in pulling people and resources together. She founded Project St. Croix, which is an incubator for young people and businesses, nonprofit organizations. She developed St. Croix Leap, which was the learning environmental arts program. For those of us who don't remember St. Croix Leap, that was in the rainforest, where they would take fallen mahogany trees and make clocks and tables and plaques. That's St. Croix Leap. She started that. Betty also was instrumental in starting off the St. Croix Canine Corps. I still remember Pete Anderson and Mary. Oh God, what's Mary's last name? She's going to kill me. Mary Edwards of the St. Croix Animal Shelter. I still remember them sitting down discussing the plans for this canine court on the island. Even Tom Guthrie, the St. Croix Triathlon. I still remember young Tom Guthrie walking in the door to sit down and get the blessing and the assistance from Betty Sperber. She was dynamic. Through her efforts, St. Croix really started to build back. And as president of the St. Croix Hotel and Tourism Association, she kind of ruled with an iron thumb.
Okay.
And this was right at the axis or the apex of change within tourism when Leona Bryant became the director of the then Division of Tourism. So you had these powerful women working in conjunction with each other to build up this island and the territory on a whole.
Okay.
And Betty really did a lot. She was a driving force, and she worked hand in hand with government, kind of told them what was needed, how it was needed, when it was needed, and stuff got done. She was also instrumental in St. Croix being scouted out for television and film production. She was a figure behind getting the Island of Dr. Moreau filmed on St. Croix. She was pivotal in getting the soap operas filmed here. All My Children, I don't know how many episodes of All My Children were done on St. Croix. She brought in Good Morning America. The 3 episodes of Miami Vice, 2 on St. Croix, 1 on St. Thomas. And she was even part and parcel to the Greatest American Hero,
Yes.
There are 2 episodes being filmed here in the island. So, with her and the Division of Tourism, the Film Promotion Office was really, really present and forward in the territory. And once again, Betty had a lot to say about advertising for the island. And at that point in time, I want to say early 1980s, she was involved in another pivotal action, and that was hiring of Green Gage and Associates, advertising firm out of New York. She
Okay.
handled territory, and that's where they came up with a separate marketing for St. Croix, which was St. Croix, an island of superlatives. And that campaign was phenomenal. And I want to say that campaign really started bringing in the numbers to the island of St. Croix. Excuse me. And strangely enough, I want to say the Island of Superlatives campaign ran for at least 8 years. If memory serves correct, it was that popular. And, another thing that she did, and lots of folks don't remember, she was heavily involved in bringing the first series of Danish passengers or visitors to the island with a company out of Denmark called Cherbourg Tours. And even though, she negotiated, she made sure other properties got a slice of the pie as well. Different rates, different hotels, different experiences, different amenities, a whole 9 yards. So a lot of those downtown hotels were getting the business. So yeah, man, St. Croix was really popping at that point. And I always remember about 1982, 83, seeing those first series of, Danish visitors, older people, socks and sandals, the ladies walking down the streets with pipes, smoking pipes. It was quite unusual. But yeah,
I think they still do that. I think they still kind of.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, man. A lot of them would go into the cemeteries and do the etchings of headstones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was it was getting busy. We had a plethora of hotel properties that were taking advantage of this. Starting in downtown Christiansted, we had Don's Anchor Inn, which is now used as a parking lot for Government House. They tore down the original structure and just left up some of the old blocks. King Christian is still there. We had the No-Tell Motel on Company Street. We had the Holder Dansk, which has been there for quite some time, which was a Best Western resort. As you left Christiansted, going out east, you would have hit the Buccaneer, of course, the Standard. Tamarind Reef at that point was only 13 rooms.
Okay.
13 rooms, screened-in porches. They had the deep end, the pool, and they had a self-service honor bar at the end of the pool. No restaurant. The marina wasn't built yet. You had Cheney Bay. You also had the sister properties, Grapetree Bay and Grapetree Beach. And if you know Sweeney from Sweeney Safari Tours, he was a general manager at Grapetree Bay, not the beach. And we would bring groups of travel agents down. They all swoon over Sweeney in the lobby of the hotel. He was a man back then. Let's see what else. And then when you're looking, leaving Christiansted, of course, we had the St. Croix by the Sea Hotel, owned by the Levetz family. I want to say that was Eric and his daughter Mona Levetz. They were operating that. That was a hot spot to go to also. By that point in time, the Pentheny was no longer a hotel. The Pentheny building turned into offices.
Where's that Pentheny building?
On King Street in Christiansted.
Okay, the Pentheny building. I'm trying to.
Right across the street from Limerick Park.
Okay.
That used to be a hotel.
Okay.
Back in the 40s.
Okay.
According to my mother, it was a hotel at downtown. So if it was a dance hall, she was there. She would know. But yeah, and then as they're going out west, we had the Tin Roof Inn. That's no longer here. It was just a small little property. We had the King Fred on the Beach. That was Bill Owens and Reba. That is now Sandcastles. We had Dawn's Sunset Inn, which was just a small 6-room bed and breakfast. That's where the Fred stands now. We had the Frederickstead Hotel. We had Clovercrest all the way down where Featherleaf Inn is now.
Yeah, all the way. Yeah, the north.
Yeah, all the way out
side.
there, out west. And how could I forget? We also had the Queen's Quarter Hotel Mid Island,
yes,
which was also a hotel and a prime entertainment center on St. Croix. So we had all that going on. We had the film promotion happening. The mainland offices were busy. We had the Miami office. That was Bob Martinez was in the Miami office. He left. It was taken over by Maria Victoria Rios from St. Croix. New York was Raphael K. Jackson, Rafi Taichu Jackson. He had that whole Northeast corridor. We had Joanne Hill in Chicago covering the Midwest. Jose, oh my God, what's Jose's last name? Leos? He was based in D.C. And then, of course, we had Ludwig Harrigan on the West Coast. Covering all the West End. So even the offshore offices were exceedingly busy back then.
How were folks finding out about St. Croix back in them days, the 40s or 50s? Because now there's a whole different internet thing involved. But how are they finding out? Let's all go to St. Croix for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, once again, small ads in regional newspapers. I have a booklet. I have to search for it, and it shows you ads from the Buccaneer on a mainland newspaper, and a couple other properties. Robert Reed was a big travel promoter back then, especially in the 70s and 1980s. But in the 80s, everything, of course, this is before electronic use. I mean, before fax machines even. It was by brochure.
Yeah,
and going door to door.
Printed paper kind of a thing.
And printed material. And I got to tell you, the Division of Tourism, they were on top of their game when it came to putting together printed material. We had items called the Fact Finder, which you would fold out. They're nice laminated things. You fold them out, and they had sections for each island. And it gave you, solid information about each island. Then there was another one called Things to See and Do. Same format, all 3 islands. Then you had the St. Croix brochure. Then you had one for St. Thomas and it's St. Thomas and St. John stuff. So we in the Miami office, we would get, my God, boxes upon boxes of these resources from the Division of Tourism. And then we'd go ahead and either mail or get on the phone and call every hotel property and say, I need 200 of your brochures. They'd mail them like nothing into our offices, and we would pack them up in packets and just drive around, go to travel agents, go to wholesalers, go to tour operators. Of course, the same thing with trade shows. If there was a major trade show, we'd call them on at St. Thomas and tell them, listen, we got this trade show going on, such and such a date, and immediately the Towians would send off all of their material to us. We'd get them like this, and days before the event, we're still calling St. Croix properties. We need your brochures. They're always slow, but they always came through. So yeah, we did a lot of door to door. Before GPS, I can still remember plotting out, because Florida was my territory. I had Florida to Texas. And I would plot out the different counties that I would have to hit. in order, and all their travel agencies, and use a telephone book and drive around with a map, phone numbers written down on a legal pad, go in with my little briefcase and give them the brochures. And of course, back then we had those stupid buttons. I slept on a virgin, or I am a virgin, and in the tiny letters Islander.
Yeah.
I
remember those.
Yeah, and whatever other paraphernalia. And back then, when Crujan rum was local, we were able to take samples, little sample bottles. We'd call up Crujan rum and tell them, we got this trade show happening or whatever, and they'd send them to us. Even bringing down groups of agents. We had familiarization tours, fam trips are what we call them. So we gather about 20 to 25 agents, maybe the top producers. And we work alongside with American and Pan Am and whoever else to select the top sellers in their vicinity. And those agents that we've met that really they've never been to the islands, they'd love to go. And we bring them down for a 4-day, 3-night trip. They stay in one property, see all the others, do all the fun things and hang out with the locals. And it was always a blast.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, as far as, you're doing this, you're marketing the company, and then you get people to come down. And obviously they were staying at these different hotels. I mean, what was the most popular hotel back in the day?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. That's pretty difficult to say because we had larger properties that offered so much diversity. And I don't believe I forgot to mention the Caravelle Hotel, which was, the Caravelle. That was Sid Kalman's and Elsie Galloway. And they made quite the team. And I want to talk about teams. I'll mention that in a few. But it's kind of hard to say. There was something for everybody at that point in time. And what I really loved is the fact that many of the properties, the larger ones, offered entertainment that not even begged, but it was just natural to have local Crucians, Virgin Islands residents, hanging out in the properties alongside with the visitors, which was key when you came to St. Croix by the Sea. I mean, that was known as a dance hall, wonderful entertainment spot for both locals and both local residents and visitors. Same thing with Queen's Quarter Hotel. That was an excellent team. We're looking at Bonnie Messer, and J.B. Morgan. Same thing out at Divvy. That was another hot spot to go to. So there was a little something for everybody on the island. I really find it difficult to say who was popular. And of course, the Buccaneer, they lent themselves to a more conservative, quiet type of vacationer, a little more discerning than the others. And, they've maintained that standard over the years. I give them so much credit for being able to maintain that in all the years of change. They've just continued to develop what they've had, what they put down, and it's worked for them. So it's kind of hard to say which was most popular. But then again, you had low end hotels. You had Cronengata Inn on King Street, right before the Anglican Church. That was a little cheap spot to go to. Same thing with Don's Anchor Inn. That was a little inexpensive place to go to. And
what was some of the entertainment back in them days?
Oh, God, amusement. Taco and the Playboys.
Okay.
They were popular. I was a little young, so I couldn't go out too much, but I must admit, I did have my little bit of fun. I was about 16, 17 when we moved over and from St. Thomas, and we lived in town, so we didn't have transportation. And I was able to walk from our apartment to Club 1 North, Mary Pomeroy's place.
Okay.
And that was right behind, let me see, if you were driving to the seaplane and you're driving past Watergut, there's a one-way street. So if you made that right-hand turn, if you were walking,
Yeah.
and then it's immediate right. That would be 1 Street, and Club 1 North
Was
was
on
on
that
that
street.
street. Yeah, that was
Okay.
Mary Pomeroy's house, and
Oh, okay.
that's where I first met a very young Tony Richards on the keyboard. Very young Tony Richards. I also met for the first time before I went to Central, and I think we spoke about this. Jimmy Hamilton.
Yes. Yes.
Jimmy and his wife Vivian. Jimmy Hamilton actually played with Duke Ellington. Okay, in that era, and I forget what Vivian's background was, but they used to have some mean jam sessions at Club North. Everybody used to be there. Then, of course, you had Kruja Moon on top of the hill, what we used to call Broadhurst Hill, right across from the Avis.
Yes.
Blue Moon, Kruja Moon. Yeah,
Yes.
Kruja Moon. Yeah, I forget. That was another popular dance spot. But yeah, I'm kind of hard pressed to really recall all those bands back then. But we also had places to go to. Also, we had Zanzibar, we had Excelsior.
I remember those places.
Nawal, yeah, Bailey's Beach on Company Street. What was the name of the place right across from Government House? It was a rock and roll club, but it was fun as heck. It's going to come to me. Grandstand Play.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't recall that one.
Yeah. Grandstand was a trip. Yeah, that was. Those were the days, man.
Bring back some memories, eh?
Oh yeah. So yeah, there were. I mean, the island was actually alive from the east to the west, and everything in between. And
but what was happening? What was happening on the west end? Because a lot of what you're talking about is east and Christian stuff. But what was happening as far as entertainment on the west side?
Frederickstead, there was the final remnants of what was prosperity. They were on their last legs. But Frederickstead was always more organic than what you had in Christiansted. The mill eventually opened as a club. That must have been about mid to late 80s before Hugo. And I don't think it was ever used again after that. But of course, we even had Mencho's in Christiansted on Company Street back in the day too. So there was a proliferation of stateside, Caribbean, and jazz here in the island. I remember roots rock reggae really hitting us. I was a teenager on St. Thomas, and I remember hitting rock really, really hard. And St. Croix at that point was just really beginning to pick up on that scene. And now she's just taken over, so that's good to see too. I like that growth also. But yeah, Frederickstead was beautiful. Once again, we're talking almost 40, 50 years ago to a large degree. But we really need to, and I've seen that resurgence now in Frederickstead, lots of buildings being renovated. I love to see that. There's a concentration of nonprofit organizations that want to get Frederickstead up and at 'em again, which is absolutely wonderful. I would like to see, excuse me, I would like to see the, and the name of the building just flew out my mind. Oh,
yeah, Frederickstead. I would always think that should. It's a little slow to sort of renovate and rejuvenate. But like, take for example, I don't know if you heard that there's a Navy ship that's in Frederickstead dock at the pier today, and they were saying that the ship has 3,700 sailors on it, and if half of those came out onto Frederickstead, place is going to be just inundated. But what's really there to do is really
the bar and restaurant scene in Frederickstead is beginning to pick up. Okay. Prosperity is open. They offer, a great place to kick back and relax. They're doing live entertainment every Friday. Every Friday this month up until December, you'll have Venus doing live vocals. It's a chill spot. This weekend, there's another event, Roots and Jazz, brought to you by Top Shotters Productions. That's going to be, and we are talking, the young lady's name is Rima.
Rima, yes.
Yeah. So this is something that's new in Frederickstead. This is great. You're getting that live entertainment, especially after we no longer have Pier 69.
Yes.
God rest, Eunice. She kept Frederickstead going with the nightlife for quite some time. Same thing with Blue Moon. We no longer have Blue Moon. I know there are other avenues, but yeah, that live entertainment will come back to Frederickstead again, that liveliness. So give her some time, she'll get on her feet. But going back into the timeline, the island was doing very well. And of course, everything kind of went downhill with the passage of Hurricane Hugo in 1989. That was a major setback. We lost a tremendous amount of hotel properties that never came back. Excuse me. Right off the top of my head, we lost Don's Anchor Inn. That was about 40 rooms. We lost the little Kimikito place. That was another 50 rooms. Tamarind Reef, the original 13 units were destroyed. That was rebuilt. I want to say it was rebuilt to accommodate 55 units back in 1993. I know there's a lot of renovation work going on at what they're now calling bungalows on the bay, formerly Cheney Bay Resort. They're doing a lot of rebuilding there, which is good. Of course, Grapetree Beach, which is the divvy, that was flattened. It took them from 1989 to 2000
to get that back up. Yeah,
exactly. Then Grapetree Bay, that was just reopened and renovated. And I think they're still redoing a lot of their units. About 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if they started working on those great cottages that were right on the water's edge.
On the beachfront, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have.
Oh, good. Good for them.
I think they have. Yeah.
Good for them. Well, that was closed for a while. It just reopened. We lost Queen's Quarter Hotel. Those are now, I believe, apartments and offices. What else did we lose? We lost. We lost Carlton. We lost King Fred, but that came back as Sandcastles. And
that was called King Fred?
The King Frederick on the beach. That was Bill Owens and Reba. God, I can't remember Reba's last name. She was from Chicago. And they worked together very, very well. And you'd find teams like that, one statesider, one local Black person in the assistant position. It worked out really, really well. But Don's Sunset Inn, which is now the Fred, that lay dormant for years. Then it later on in the 90s became a nightclub called Reflections.
I remember that, yeah.
And that probably lasted to about 1999, 2000, I think. What else did we lose? We lost Clovercrest, but that's now back as, I think, Featherleaf or whatever the case may be. I don't recall its name exactly. So we lost some of the larger properties and we never got them back, which is a shame. But even still, there was so much hope for regrowth. One of the things that kind of brought me back home were all the trade publications and all the major newspapers were talking about the redevelopment of St. Croix and this hotel scene. One particular name that kept popping up was Diamond Couture. And that would have been that strip of land along this island's south shore. Underdeveloped, virgin property. And that was supposed to have been a decisive resort to draw people to this island. And man, it was on everybody in the industry's tongue about Diamond Couture. It never came to pass. But nonetheless,
Why do you think that is?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, because I know for years there was a lot of talk about getting
Yeah.
a hotel here, and I remember them talking about South Shore. But and I even think that I remember, if I remember correctly, there was even some signage that had went up, coming soon, but nothing ever came. It just fizzled away.
No, and the same thing with Golden Resorts by Sal Pond.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking about by Saul.
Oh, you're thinking Golden Resorts by Saul Pond.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking about. Yes, yes.
Well, we're talking South Shore. Once you pass, oh gosh, what's the name of the beach on the South Shore? I forget.
Yeah, the one. Yeah, I know what beach you're talking about.
What's the name of the beach? This is embarrassing.
Oh gosh. Hey Penny.
Hey, thank you. Exactly. You drive past. You drive past Hey Penny. You drive past the farm.
Yeah.
And then you hit all that land.
Yeah.
All that was Diamond Couture. So that never came to pass. Golden Resorts never came to pass. Remember the Jackson family, the Jackson 5 family. They were considering a resort on the island. That never came to pass. So a lot of the hype that was made about rebuilding on the island just never came to pass. Oh, another hotel that we lost, it wasn't much, but it was worthwhile, was the Inn on the Airport Road.
Yes.
That was another little property, great for, overnighters, people stuck on island, whatever the case. They need to get back to the airport real quick. It's right there. And they had a hopping little club too.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. I forgot about them for a second. But yeah, a lot of the hype and growth never came back. And, the larger properties were later replaced with more I want to say smaller boutique hotels, and that seems to be the trend for the island. Carambola has gone through its changes over the years, from a rock resort to it was a strange name, Sunterra Resort. Right now, I'm not sure what they are. So, I couldn't. I don't know what they are now. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But I even forgot about them in our discussions. But yeah. So that seems to be more of what's being developed in the island. I would still love to see something larger, if at all possible. At one point, Mario de Chabert was even considering a property called the Queen Anne in Sunny Isle.
Okay.
Okay. So I thought that would have been a wonderful spot, mid-island, close to the hospital, close to shopping, relatively close to the airport. That mid-island location would have been a great spot for people to branch off and see the rest of the island. That never came up too. And don't forget, there was also the strange hotel that was supposed to have been built in Judith's Fancy. And if you go out there, you'll see it sinking on that little island. You don't know about that one?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
I'm trying to picture that area.
Yeah, that was, I want to say, back in the 70s, because I used to marvel at that as a kid in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was abandoned.
Okay. So it's just land, just bush and land now?
It's just the land and whatever is left standing out there. I haven't been out there in years, so I couldn't tell you what it looks like. And of course, Carlton never came back either.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Carlton never came back either. So yeah, we lost a lot in that inventory, and we've done a lot of rebuilding on the remains of other properties that stood once before. So I would like to see some additional growth, if at all possible.
That'd be nice. I mean, they're talking about it. I'm sure that it's on several people's minds. I just don't understand why it never really came to light.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, they built the Hampton Suites on St. Thomas. I want to say it took them a year, but why not do it here?
yeah. I just never understood that.
You know?
So I guess we all agree that we should have another hotel here. But when that's going to happen is beyond me, and I guess it's beyond you too.
Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing. I would still like to see more opportunities of training for people in front serving positions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that drives me insane is that we don't offer it enough. And, pardon me. And sometimes when we do, we're bringing in outside trainers that aren't part and parcel to the territory. Their messages are good, but I've always preferred to have something localized.
Local, yeah.
For the populace that
Mm-hmm.
we sink our teeth into. That's one of the reasons why I started Customer First VI, which is a customer training consulting that I have alongside with Claudette Young Hines Consulting. So yeah, we've actually got programs that we're dying to go ahead and get out there in the community. I've got customer service. She has a slew of other stuff, but yeah, customer services, that's my thing. So if you need a trainer, call me.
Call Kevin.
Yeah, call me.
He'll get you in the right direction.
Yeah, and this old virgin has some background knowledge. So yeah, give me a call.
So to revitalize St. Croix, I mean, what do you think needs to be done overall? I mean,
well, overall, definitely we really need to invest in training. First off and foremost, we need to consider, what do we want to see the island look like in the next 10, 15, 20 years in regard to the industry. Now, once again, things are changing every single day. Whether it's camping, whether you want to do it on a low end or a high end, we have the spaces for that available. If you want a full luxury experience, guess what? We have the capability of doing that also.
Yeah,
if you want more, if you want more of a localized, authentic stay, like what Jamaica did back in the 90s, where they offered residents who had property the opportunity to build guest houses between 10 and 20 rooms. And of course, you pay back the loan, but you're an entrepreneur. You have a guest house. We can do something like that with people here on St. Croix who own property. It's sitting there. You know what? We'll provide you with the startup funds to create a bed and breakfast experience. Of course, there'd have to be things tied into that, such as the hiring of local youth, local peoples. That most importantly, the continuation of training and certification, not just training. If someone is certified, most likely they'll have to be recertified, so that gives them the impulse or to continue onward with their education. Once again, it's all about authenticity. What's real, what's tangible, what's part of the history and culture of the island. By no means am I knocking anyone that does yoga or shiitsu or whatever. That's all well and good. But if you want something authentic, authentically Caribbean, you really need to touch into our past, bring it into the future, and market it and present it accordingly. And I think that's really, really where we should be going.
Yeah. I know some people have said that they've seen big billboards, I guess, on the I-95 corridor more in the New York, New Jersey area, about, come to the Virgin Islands, as a way to draw people here. Um, if we could just get more people on St. Croix come in to visit. The planes are packed when I travel. Planes are full, but not as full as St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Which I never quite understood. A lot of people, they go to St. Thomas and they may take a day to come to St. Croix, and then they fall in love with St. Croix. It's just open. It's more open. It's bigger, slightly bigger. St. Thomas is very hilly, and there's just a bit of congestion there. But I don't know. It just seems like we have some work to do, to get caught up.
No, definitely. And once again, I give this generation lots of credit. I believe it's the young lady West Gal,
Yes.
Pate Fest, the Tart Wars. Those are ingenious events. They get people out and about. I like that a lot. But I would love to see more tours, more things based on landmark history of the territory. One spot that I've taken issue with because I think we squandered it are the last standing village on the island, Slav Estate, the old slave home. If you're leaving Central and you're going out onto Queen Mary, if you were to cut straight down like you're going to the cemetery, until on the right hand side, that's Slav Estate.
Okay.
So you've got the last standing village where the old slave quarters or homes are still present. The Great House is still there, and some other outlying buildings. I want to say it was deeded over to the territory in the early 1980s. And what we've done with it is that's the spot where green waste is dumped.
Oh, that's right.
Hurricane.
Yeah.
And I just imagine if we were to take that, bring it up to par, renovate it, it would be a learning center, it'd be a museum, it would be a library for the people of the Virgin Islands and visitors. Something to think about.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people just drive by the road, they don't even know it's there.
Yeah, I got you. What about the whole thing of how does the Airbnbs sort of affect hotel stay? I mean, it's just another way of.
Airbnb to me is a very strange market. Personally speaking, I would not do an Airbnb.
Okay.
Unless you're offering daily maid service. Okay. I'm not going somewhere where I have to make up the bed, throw out the trash, and monitor things or anything.
Yeah.
And it's a novel concept, but I really don't know how much it's actually biting into the rooms. Once again, I haven't been in the industry since 2012, so to speak, in regard to working physically in a hotel or working with the Hotel and Tourism Association. So I really couldn't tell you what those figures are. But there's a large number of them on island, which I think is great. If you're going to take advantage of it, go for it. Do you make that bag? I ain't gonna hate. Make that bag.
I got you. Okay. What else have we got here? We talked about today's landscape. From large resorts to smaller boutique hotels. And the Fred Sandcastle on the beach and King Christian are defined as modern St. Croix hospitality. Because you said the Buccaneer is considered to be, I guess, the 5-star of St. Croix.
She's a golden standard. Definitely.
New opportunities are emerging in algorithms and heritage tourism. Oh, no, agritourism.
Agritourism is something that we need to look out for. And I want to say that Prosperity Farm Distillery is probably going to be the best example of agritourism. their product line, which consists of 4 liqueurs and 2 gins, is quite phenomenal. They don't produce rum; they just do spirits, and they don't utilize molasses. They do use sugarcane, which is grown there. As a matter of fact, everything that they produce is grown on that property.
Yeah.
The sugarcane, ginger, the bananas. Of course, they will buy from local farmers the sorrel to make their sorrel gin and other items or certain herbs that they don't grow themselves. But this will be an excellent experiment in how tourism and agriculture can play a major role. And that property itself covers, also covers history because it's built in the grounds of a former plantation.
Yes.
So all that wrapped into one, it's a phenomenal concept, and it's something that we should look at as a model. And lots of others have the chance to do so too. I'm trying to recall the name of the farm in the rainforest. They do the cookouts. Oh, help me, David.
The cookouts?
Yeah, they do the cookouts. They do raw cooking. Have little cabins, but you can do camping.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. And I was wondering if that place is still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
So all of that is part of the change, and
that's where they used to hold Dub in the Rainforest at.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I can't recall the name of it right
now.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head, and this is bad. But this resurgence of agriculture is something to look forward to. I give Dale Brown and his wife lots of credit for Sage Out Farms and what they're doing in regard to the bush cooking. All of these things, as nominal as it seems, are the seeds of growth for agriculture, tourism, and cultural travel. And they all can meld together and meld together well. So, yeah, definitely something to look forward to in the future.
All right, man. So a closing thought, Kevin. You said St. Croix has always been a place that welcomes the world. And though we've lost many hotels, we've never lost the spirit of hospitality.
True that. Yeah, I mean, we've lost a lot along the way, but even still, we always open our arms to visitors. Even amongst our own, I wish we start doing that more often. I think once again, change is the only constant in this life. So, every a culture changes, people change. But yeah, in all honesty, I would just love to see continued growth on the island in regard to agritourism, more authentic travel venues or themes. I'd love to see more local residents, not just do the Airbnb, but maybe the little boutique hotel, where people are submersed in the island history and culture. And one thing that just popped in mind is Barbara McConnell used to host dinners where everything was served family style. Reservations would be made months in advance of their coming to the island just to taste authentic Caribbean food. I can't say Crucian because it wasn't just Crucian food. I should say Caribbean food.
Caribbean food, okay.
Yeah, and she was known for that. That was back in the 70s and early 80s. But, we've always been a center of food, of great food. Pangea, Brady's. Oh my
Brady's.
God, Frank's Restaurant, the Comanche, Le Saint-Tropez. Well, and that's just Christiansted. I'm just throwing these out of my mind. We also had, even in Frederickstead, we had that Café du Soleil. That was a French. That's where Siboney is now.
Okay.
That was Café du Soleil. I mean, you had Pier 69, you had Blue Moon. Oh my God.
Blue Moon used to have some real good jazz there.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we had a lot. We've always been an island of gastronomical delights, if you want to put it that way. That's nothing new. but I'd like to see that continued. Even still, I ran into Catherine Puglisi, who owns Cheese and Bread right now.
Okay.
Out in the east. That's
on the east side, yeah.
Is that a State Petronella? Is that Petronella? Yeah, I want to say that's a State Petronella. That's where South Shore Cafe used to be.
Yes.
After it moved from the corner where Maximilian's restaurant was. They owned Bacchus. She and Frank. I mean, Bacchus was like amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that, even the food trucks, lots of us grew up on Dova and Lucy after hours, you know what I mean? And I see that same vision with food trucks now around the island. I'm glad to see
that's a big thing now.
Yeah. And if you remember Mr. Thomas, who used to be out there in Richmond by the old prison, part of fire station is in Richmond.
Yeah.
His son has Thomas's famous catering in Princess. Right about where Prasad's office is, Luz James, the funeral.
Oh, right up in there. Okay, yes.
It used to be Tropical Cleaners.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mr. Thomas's son in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man. And once again, he learned well from his dad.
Okay.
I give him credit. His stuff is, his food is great.
Okay, man.
So
sounds good, man.
Continuing.
So on that note, man, I would recommend any of our viewers that are on the mainland, come on down to St. Croix and check it out. There's plenty of hotels. We'll make space for you. We even got Uber now. We got Uber.
Yeah, you got Uber.
So you can definitely get around.
Yeah.
There's plenty of hotels. There's lots to do. There's plenty of food if you like to eat. If you want to get a taste of the history of the island, come on down and check it out, man. You'll love it, and we definitely want you to come back.
That's it.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
All right. Well, David,
you got any closing words for us?
Well, no, nothing more than thank you, and I hope that we can go on again. We can do this again because I want to have a discussion about genealogy with you if I get that opportunity to.
Yes, we will work that out.
Yeah, you got a lot of viewers on the mainland, and I know there are connections between the mainland and the Virgin Islands. And as you well know, there was a mass exodus.
Yes,
in the 30s and 40s, and a lot of these folks are still up there. They don't know home. So yeah, man, let me talk about genealogy and how we left, and some came back and some didn't.
We're all linked together, right?
Exactly. But yeah, this is fun. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to send over the membership card for you.
Okay.
Yeah, for the Silver Foxes, since we got the beard thing going on.
I know. Wise men have great beards. That's all I can say.
There you go. That's it.
All right, man. Our guest tonight is Kevin Jackson. He's a communications, hospitality, and tourism professional. We just had sort of a history lesson. Most of it, or I would say 75% of it, especially the name of places. Because obviously, I grew up in St. Croix. I went to Kirby Larson. I went to St. Mary's, then I went to St. Joseph for 9th grade, and then I switched to Central for 10th, 11th, and 12th, and graduated in 82. And then left, but my mom was here and my family was here, so I would always come back, and and then I moved back in 2008. So, this is home. I love it. We need some improvements, but we got the people that can do it.
Yeah.
We got the people that can do it, that want to do it. They just want their fair share, their fair opportunity to present themselves, and I'm all for that, man. So on that note, this is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show podcast every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. AST. Until we're coming to you live on Facebook and on YouTube. I want to thank our guest, Kevin Jackson. He'll be back because he has another topic to discuss, and we'll work that out here in the next few days, but he'll be back. Kevin, thank you, man.
Well, thank you, David. Greatly appreciate it. I can't wait to come back on.
Okay, man. Thank you.
All right.
Everybody enjoy the evening.